Hello, I'm Tom Rothman of 20th Century Fox. Welcome to Fox Legacy. We're glad to have you with us tonight.
What in God's name are you talking about?
Your son, Mr. Thorne. The son of the devil.
The early 1970s were just like the early 2000s, actually, in terms of the horror genre in movies. Theaters were filled with numerous low-end slasher films and cheap B-grade horror. But in 1973, The Exorcist showed the possibilities for a different kind of horror film. Sophisticated, supernatural suspense. Say that 3 times. The enormous appeal of this new class of film was confirmed by the 1976 triumph of The Omen and the films in the Omen franchise that followed. Now, there are certainly some horrific images in The Omen. The nanny hanging, the beheading. But particularly to a contemporary audience used to the excesses of torture porn and slasher films, they're far from the most frightening moments in the film. What was terrifying about The Omen then, and what will still terrify you tonight, is its central question. What if? What if the beatific little child you dreamed your whole life of having, that perfect little boy personifying innocence and goodness in the world, portrayed in the original by the preternaturally calm Harvey Stevens, what if he were really the Antichrist? What elevated The Omen to classic status is the quality and the seriousness of the execution of that simple but dreadful idea. Under the sure and confident hand of Richard Donner, who was just beginning his magnificent directing career, the filmmakers treated the story with total reality and dead earnestness. Nothing was campy or exaggerated. The script by David Seltzer, with its liberal use of biblical sources, has an almost literary or poetic feel to it. When the Jews return to Zion and a comet rips the sky and the Holy Roman Empire rises, then you and I must die. From the eternal sea he rises, creating armies on either shore, turning man against his brother till man exists no more. Poetic indeed. In the casting of Gregory Peck, an icon of serious film acting. I mean, it's Atticus Finch himself. Stand up, Scout, your daddy's passing. This told the audience that the movie was serious business, serious, scary business anyway. It's so scary that the legend is that the production was haunted, or at the very least, subject to a terrible, deadly jinx. Gregory Peck's plane from Los Angeles to London was hit by lightning. 3 days later, David Seltzer was on the same flight, and that was also hit by lightning. The director, Richard Donner, was nearly injured in a car accident. A restaurant where some of the crew was about to have dinner just as they were walking in was blown up by an IRA bombing. The warden at the safari park where the zoo scene is filmed was actually killed by 2 lions on the very day the crew went to shoot the baboon sequence. And finally, and most tragically, special effects artist John Richardson, the man who actually choreographed the beheading scene, was involved in a tragic car accident where his girlfriend was herself beheaded. Richardson has said that he remembers coming to from the crash, and the first thing he saw was a mile marker sign that said kilometers 66.6. Tragic coincidence or something darker and more sinister? I don't know. I guess it depends if you believe the words of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 18. It goes like this. Here is the wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Enjoy The Omen, but if it were me, I'd leave the lights on. That last smile from young Damien was actually a reshoot. Damien did not survive in the original ending of the movie, but then studio head Alan Ladd Jr., known to all as Laddie, had seen the picture and he knew that the power of the Omen was not to be fleeting, and so he asked for Damien to live. And indeed, 30 years after the young Antichrist first appeared, a very smart executive at Fox named Peter Rice noticed a strange coming quirk on the calendar. That Tuesday, June the 6th of the summer of 2006, would in fact be 6606. And thus was the modern remake of The Omen, starring Lev Schreiber and Julia Stiles, born. Various scripts were written, which tried all sorts of updating or changing or modernizing. Some set the movie in Japan, some in Las Vegas, and in truth, none of them were worth a damn. After a while, we realized that unlike many other remakes that must deal with outdated elements of the story, the original Omen script, with its emphasis on politics and class, was as timely today as it was then. So we went back to David Salter's original draft, and we then sought a filmmaker who could give the movie a more contemporary feel. Luckily for us, that man was John Moore, the mad, marvelous Irishman, with a passionate love for the material, a virtuoso's visual gifts, and a Catholic upbringing to boot. John's version of The Omen did indeed premiere in every country in the world on the same day, Tuesday, 6606. And it did it to enormous success. Indeed, it was at that time the most box office any film had ever done on a Tuesday. And when you do see that version of The Omen, by the way, take a look at the tabloid reporters and see if one of them doesn't look like what young Damien, that is, Harvey Stevens, might look like 30 years later when all grown up. It is, after all, still all for you, Damien.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again the next time we make history here on the Fox Movie Channel. I'm Tom Rothman. Good night.